Indiana is the second losingest team in FBS football history, and they are unbeaten. And tomorrow, Coach, they will be the #1 seed in the college football playoffs.
What happened? This is the greatest turnaround in the history of our sport, college football. It's not even close.
Yeah.
You know, a year ago, I want to go in reverse a little bit. We were at Indiana versus, I believe it was Nebraska, and I was watching that, and I said, I went outside, and I wanted to stand next to that team and witness what I was witnessing. That's last year, that's this year. This is the best coaching job I've seen, certainly in my life, I think, in the history of the sport.
Yeah. This, though, the second straight year, Coach, that the Buckeyes lose before going into the college football playoffs. They responded very well last year off that loss at home to Michigan. How does Ryan Day rally the troops again this year?
Well, you can say the template is set because they did it last year. After the horrible loss to the Wolverines, they rallied back. Here's the difference, Brady. Last year's team was the most veteran team in college football. That's not the case this year. You got a young quarterback. Remember last year you had senior Will Howard. You had a senior laden group. And I used to say there's a big difference between coaching grown-ass men in that locker room, the young guys. You're going to find out. The template is there. But I don't know enough about this team. There's been zero adversity. This is it. This is it for them. So I'm anxious to watch.
I thought the most interesting part of that was the conservative decision to kick the field goal as opposed for going for it on 4th and 1. I don't feel like that was the case last year when they got in the playoff. I wonder why they were conservative in that moment and try to go win the game there instead of kicking for the tie.
And remember also the 2-minute drill. At the beginning, at the end of the half, it was very conservative. Very conservative. I don't know if they lost a little trep in sand. I'm not sure. I don't know why they would.
2 4th and 1 decisions went against the Buckeyes late in the third and again there in the fourth quarter with the missed field goal. Indiana moves on. They will be the #1 seed tomorrow. Who's going to join them, though, in that bracket? Just a quick recap. Remember, BYU lost to Texas Tech in the Big 12 championship game. Feels like they are out. Alabama was in. They had a less than favorable outing against Georgia in Atlanta to fall in the SEC championship game. Now all of a sudden there's a couple schools, and the two main ones are Miami and Notre Dame, trying to get themselves into the college football playoffs. Of those two, who gets in?
I think it should be Notre Dame and Miami because I think those are the two best teams out of the four you just presented me with. But the reality comes down to whether or not this college football playoff committee is going to penalize BYU and Bama, for that matter, for both of them losing in the conference championship weekend. Look, for me, these games have to mean something, and they don't mean anything if you're allowed in to lose or even get blown out if you're Alabama by 21 points and to not face any consequences for it. So for me, I think Notre Dame and Miami are the two best suited to go in and actually have the potential chance of winning a national championship.
I know it pains me to say as an Alabama guy, but I know if we were Alabama at number 11 or number 12 and we sat there and witnessed a team losing their conference championship by 27 points, losing their conference championship by 21 points, we would be pounding the table saying they should be punished for that performance. So, with that being said, I have to be honest and I think BYU is out, and I think that puts the next two teams in the ranking up, which is Miami and Notre Dame. I think they get in, unfortunately. We'll see if they set the precedent last year. They let SMU in a loss get in from the ACC championship in a loss. So we'll see what the committee does, but I think, in my opinion, I think Bama's out.
I think Notre Dame and Miami should be in, and they deserve to be in. But what I think is going to happen is just my opinion. I think, to your point, the committee's not going to set the precedent that the SEC championship game doesn't matter for Alabama. I think Alabama is going to stay in, and then I think the head-to-head is finally going to come to play, which is, it's so ridiculous that they haven't used it to this point, but I think that's when it's going to happen, and the committee is just going to be like this, all right? I mean, I think Alabama and I think Miami will end up being two of those three teams that get in.
I agree with Matt. If you set the precedent that you go play Georgia at Georgia, who would Notre Dame, Miami would lose that game.
Notre Dame beat Georgia last year. Why are we saying that?
I just watching them on tape, and I just think I would say this: if you penalize a team in the Southeastern Conference that goes and plays Georgia at Georgia and that kicks them out, then you're going to lose. People are going to say, why make it to the championship game? You can't do that. You can't penalize a team. Notre Dame will never play in a championship game.
They better have the same narrative for BYU.
So Notre Dame will never, ever play in a championship game. How is that fair?
But you lose by 28 or 21.
Well, that's a whole different discussion then about them joining a conference. The reality is they went through the playoff and ended up playing for a national championship last year. So we can't act like those games didn't happen. I mean, they beat Georgia last year. So my whole thing with this is, if you're watching them this year, they look like one of the best teams in the country.
We can't agree.
How are they going to agree?
SEC than second. No.
Or don't.
The brackets come out tomorrow afternoon, by the way. Virginia Duke, in overtime.
By the way, there are going to be a lot of pissed off fans tomorrow.
There's going to be a lot of happy Indiana fans right now and through the evening.